Hey guys, we're at Harbor Freight. We're going to check out a lot of their survival supplies, see what kind of survival kit we can put together. I doubt we're going to be able to put the go bag together, but we'll just see what we come up with. Guys, we prepare to be ready for an emergency situation, whether it's a daily emergency, national, worldwide. And try to have the supplies you need. But let's say you're not at home and something happens. We decided to go to Harbor Freight and just see what kind of survival supplies we could pick up if we needed to. If it was somewhere where we're out of town, we don't really have the things we need, just run in and pick up different items. And so while Harbor Freight has a number of different supplies, we decided to go in, check it out, purchase them, and we're going to take a look at them. All right, we got back from Harbor Freight. We're going to go through and I'm going to show you all the things we've got, and we're going to organize all this stuff. Now here we have everything laid out. We're going to kind of go through what we have here. There are going to be some holes because, Harbor Freight does not have like water filtration. They don't really have containers. They don't have hats as far as I could remember. Of course, any kind of jacket and a lot of that stuff you should already have on. But these are some things that we found. There were a couple of things that they even had that we bypassed, and we'll talk about that as well. Now, one of the first things that you need is something to carry it in. They don't have any kind of backpacks, but we looked for this little tool bag. It's a pretty nice tool bag. It's about 18 inches in length. It's pretty good. It's got some side pouches. You're going to be carrying it by the grab handles, but it does have a shoulder strap. So I thought this was pretty good. There were a number of different ones there, so you can kind of choose what you want, but this seems to be a good size. But you definitely need something to carry your gear in. And also with storage, having some way, especially if you're going to load up some ammo or you have ammo and you want to put it in some kind of case. I think these were like $3.97. They did have the metal ones and they had the larger ones, but we just chose this. But there are a number of different containers that you could get. But we wanted to kind of keep it light. And one of the first things I wanted to look at were knives. And they had a number of different type knives there, a lot of different prices. The two long fixed blade knives they had was this Bowie knife. It's a 6-inch blade. It says it's heat treated. It's made by Gordon or offered by Gordon. Synthetic resin handles, has aluminum here at the guard and also at the back. It says it's stainless steel and it's 7CR17 MOV. And supposedly it is a through tang construction. Now they had a survival knife there and it was really cheap. I think it was like $9. I think this was about 25 bucks. But it also comes with a real leather sheath. And so having a fixed blade knife to me is important. And if you can get it full tang, that's even better. But also, we found this one. This is the Gordon pocket knife. It's a 3.4-inch blade. It's fairly heavy, actually. It says lightweight, but this is also a stainless steel blade, and it's 8CR13 MOV. I'm not expecting much out of these knives, but guys, if you can keep them sharpened, which we have a sharpening stone as well, and that's important, you can just sharpen it down and use it. Now, it does have some serrations here at the back. It's a liner lock, has a clip, has a seatbelt cutter, and then it has a glass breaker. And that's really the reason why I chose this. There were some others. In fact, one that I picked up I was going to get. Now, one thing about this knife is it's like a flipper, but it doesn't flip. I mean, it's slow, but you can get it and then get a hold of that thumb stud and bring it out. But guys, knives are one of the most important tools that you can have. And so even though these are fairly inexpensive, they'll get you through in a tough situation. And with a fixed blade knife, it's really important to have some kind of sheath. And this is not bad. Now, fire is definitely something that is at the top of the list, and these are the old magnesium blocks, and it has some kind of ferro rod here, and then you have a striker, and it's attached. I mean, these are very common, and they're fairly inexpensive, but fire is very important. I didn't remember if they had lighters, but if they had lighters, I should have picked up a couple. Again, redundancy. And then we got cordage. Now, I got some paracord, supposedly, and this says it's up to 160 pounds. Watch your paracord, guys, because a lot of times, you know, it's not real true 550 cord. But then also, I found this diamond camo rope, and it was quite a bit of length, and so I just felt like this would be a great way if I just needed to use some rope or cordage, I could use this. And then I just grabbed a little bit of just wire. And wire, there's so many things you can do with wire. And these were fairly inexpensive, and so I just threw it in there as well. And we have some duct tape, but this is the Gorilla Tape. It holds up extremely well. They had a smaller pack, which might have been a better option as far as if you're on the go. But a great roll of duct tape. There's so many things you can do with this, and especially with repairs, things like that. Duct tape is definitely a survival staple. Now here I have just a tarp, and it's one of the things that I do pick up quite often from Harbor Freight. These tarps are fairly inexpensive, and they're not too bad. They've got ripstop material. They do have grommets, and so, you know, you can actually make an improvised shelter. You can use this as a poncho. You know, there's a lot of ground cover. There's 1,000 things you can do with a good tarp, and this does create some shelter. And in the rule of threes, you live 3 hours in harsh conditions. So this is a pretty big one. And one of the things I missed, and they had them there, were tent stakes. And if I'd have had the tent stakes, I could have used it, brought out my cordage, and could have made an improvised shelter. We could still rig something up, but the tent stakes are something that we do keep in our packs. That's one thing I should have picked up. And guys, light is your #1 security tool, and a good headlamp to me is one of the most important things to have if I only had one light, and mainly because you can work with it hands-free. Nothing like putting a flashlight in your mouth to be able to use it when you don't have a hand. And so these are from Quantum, and they're fairly inexpensive lights. This is a pretty decent, even has a battery pack on the back. And then again, I should have picked up some extra just regular batteries, and I think these are probably, you know, AAA batteries or AA batteries. It would have been good to have those batteries, and they had them there, so that's one thing I missed. But one thing about this, it tilts, and so that's pretty cool. 90-degree tilt. Right here is your power button. It has a high setting, a low setting, and then it has strobe. So actually a pretty decent little light. It is made of some kind of polymer material, and does kind of swing out. One thing I do want to show you is you can do an intense beam hotspot, and then you can twist it, and I think right here, because we're so close, it's hard to tell. But this is going to give you a little bit of hotspot and spill, and actually not a bad little light. Only thing is, you have to go through all modes to cut it off. But it seems like it would be fairly comfortable. There's rubber on the back. But, you know, guys, when it comes down to it, a headlamp, if you've got one, and they did have, I think, something that was similar to a Petzl, but it looked really cheap, and so I decided to pick this up instead. Because again, light is your #1 security tool, guys. You need light. Supposedly this is 310 lumens, and it'll run for 4.5 hours. And this will also fit over a helmet, and you can adjust it to fit onto your head. And this is also from Quantum. I think they had a black version, but I got the camo version just for kicks. This is supposedly 583 lumens, and that's pretty bright. It does have that same kind of telescopic lens, so you can go to your hotspot, or you can get a wide field of view this way. And so that's pretty cool. It is all polymer, and it's got kind of a different kind of camo pattern to it. It's got some texturing right here. Nice LED. It says that it'll go 538 feet in beam distance. And the runtime is up to 3 hours and 24 minutes. No, I'm not going to review this. Now, I did pick up a pack of zip ties, and I got some longer ones. These are 11 inches. There's a lot of things you can do with the zip ties, and so I just thought that was great to have that. I saw them, I picked them up. There was a number of different types. They also had some Velcro stripping that might have been nice, but you know, if you're not careful, you're getting a bunch of stuff that you may or may not need. But I think zip ties are pretty universal. Now we picked up some nitrile gloves, and these are pretty decent type gloves to use for a lot of things, and especially if you're handling things that, you know, may be contaminated or whatever. Nitrile gloves are very great. They just they're disposable, and you know, there's quite a few. I think there's 50 gloves in here. It's a 7 mil thickness, so it's going to give you a little bit of protection. But I also picked up these gloves, and these are just some cheap gloves that they had a ton of different type gloves. And so I just picked these because they were black. They have a little Velcro keeper. And, you know, especially if it gets cool, and it is that time of year. So, but, you know, getting your hands messed up, you need to be able to protect them because hands are vital in a survival situation. Now, I did pick up some batteries. And these are lithium button cell batteries. They're the CR2032s. These go in most of your optics. And so I just went ahead and grabbed some of these. If I was on the road or I was out of town or something, I may have a scoped rifle in the back that takes these batteries. And so while I have them, you know, they may not be all that great. We'll just have to see. I mean, they're Thunderbolt Magnums, so these things should last about 20 years. But I kind of doubt it. But it will give you some power if you need it. Now, tools. Harbor Freight's known for tools, but a lot of them are automotive or different type, you know, standard household tools. But they did have a small hatchet. There was a number of different ones. In fact, they had one with a wood handle that was actually a little more expensive. But this with the nylon handle, it's not going to break. And again, I have my sharpener. It did come with this little cover, protective cover. Let's go ahead and pull that off. I'm not really expecting a whole lot out of this, but if you don't have anything, this is great. And this is a 1 1/4 pound with the fiberglass handle. And so it does have a small lanyard loop here. I can throw a lanyard on here if I want. But, you know, it doesn't have any kind of cover for it, which I would really like to have, but it does have that little rubber cover. So that could go into a pack without too much trouble. Also, I'm really big, though, lately about pry bars. And if you get yourself in a situation to where there's debris and there's things, or maybe even an accident, or you're trying to help someone out of a situation, a good crowbar or pry bar is really good to have. This is a little bit large, but this is what they had. And you can also pull nails with it, and you can get some leverage. And so to me, having some kind of pry bar gives you leverage, which can really get people out of a tough situation. And then last but not least, I just happened to see this one. It's just one of those folding shovels that has a cover to it. It's kind of flimsy, but this is not as good as the ones that I typically use. We'll go ahead and plop this out. All right, it took me a little finagling to get this going, but we've got it here. It's got a polymer handle here, polymer here, you know, and then you've got your shovel, and it's really small, compact, easy to use. It's even got a kind of a sawtooth that's not really sharpened. And then, you know, you can bring this down to a 90-degree angle, and it allows you to actually dig. So you can dig straight up, or you can get it like this, and, you know, you can dig this way. So these old military style shovels, I mean, they're very useful. This is probably a cheaper version. I'd much rather have one of the really good quality. But again, if you don't have another option, you know, it's definitely something that you can use. And what I really like about this is it does fold up into a really compact package. Slip this in here and I can carry it in my pack. And by the way, I keep a military edition of these in my car at all times. Well, we got everything in the bag. I did put the knife and the flashlight on the outside. Here I have the batteries and I have my fire starter. There are pouches all the way around, so you know, if you had smaller items, you could do that. You do have a strap that you can, you know, put this, attach it, or you could grab the grab handles, and they seem to be pretty reinforced. Bringing it around, I think on this side I threw in the baling wire. Again, you've got areas where you can put different things if you needed to, even on the outside. Of course, as you can see, we didn't get the ammo can in there. We might have put it in the center, but it just really wasn't going to fit. It does have a handle, and this is something that we would probably just put in our car. I'm going to open this up. And you can see we got everything pretty much in there. I kind of set it like this, so you know, you could actually get everything in there and be able to get to it instead of piling it this way. Down in here we have our hatchet and our pry bar, and of course the sharpener, but everything seems to be where I can get to it. So not a bad setup. This would not be ideal. I'd much rather have a backpack, but it'll get you through. And sometimes that is what you got to do. You've got to improvise to survive. You got to set up what you have, and you got to do the best with it. Now the total for everything was $196.83. So for a couple of $100, you know, you can put everything together that you see here. Again, we really are lacking in water, and that's a big one with a water filter, a container. We'd need that. Throwing in some extra batteries would have been smart, and some tent stakes. Definitely a couple of things that were overlooked. If they had cotton balls or even Q-tips, that would have been a great thing to use for fire starter, so that was probably something else that we missed. And here's the moral of the story. Is, guys, before you go into a place like this, make out a list of things. Now, we went in blind. We just said we're going to go in here and check it out. And so having a detailed plan of what you really need and a priority list, and get those things first, you may run out of money. You know, the ATM machine may not be working. You may only have so much cash. And so you may have to go in and just pick up the items that are available. But what you don't want to do is to come out with some kind of scissors or something, and then you miss out on a water filter or something like that. I didn't notice if they had drink machines there. That would have been a plus, or any kind of snacks, but I didn't see anything like that. So with what we had and putting all this together, this is what we came up with. And again, guys, I want to inspire you to, when you go into places, look for their survival gear, think about the things you might need, and then maybe later on, it may just hit you that you can go to these places and find some items. Now, there are a lot of security things in here, a lot of different ways. They are on budget, but we've used one of their driveway alarms for a long time. So that's one thing to have security. All right, they do have some solar panels and different type. We have some smaller ones here. It looks like they have other items as well, but gives you some solar power options. Now, we have some holes in our preps if we're preparing from Harbor Freight. Honestly, you know, water filtration's a big one, water container, some different type items, and honestly, the quality of these items are fairly low. But they can still get you through a tough situation. You don't always need the best of the best, even though most of us like to have good quality items. And so hopefully, you know, when you're in a store, different type stores that have a lot of different variety of merchandise, look to see what they have. And if you ever find yourself maybe out of town, maybe just across town, and you can't get home, to be able to go into a certain store and pick up a lot of the items that you need. You may be able to get some others at a different store, but at least it'll give you a head start. And two, it's a lot of fun checking out all the survival gear at some of these places. And guys, if there are things that you've purchased at Harbor Freight that you think would be a great addition, maybe that I missed, leave it down in the comments below. Guys, check out Sportsman's Guide for all kind of accessories, shooting, hunting, camping, military surplus from all over the world. It's one of my go-to sources, and you get $20 off for every $100 or more purchase using Sootch, S-O-O-T-C-H, in the coupon code. And if you're a member of their Buyers Club, you get free shipping. And that really comes in handy when you're ordering jerry cans. So check out Sportsman's Guide, great resource. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America, long live the Republic. Guys, when it comes to being prepared, you know, your home is your... I need some shade, man. I just need some shade. Don't be casting shade on me. Cast some shade on me. But yet, there are some things that can get you through. As the sun comes through and blinds me. I'm blind. Be strong, be of good courage. The sun. The sun is in my face.